The harvest.
Good afternoon to you all, Africa. This is Imene Nouad with the latest news from across the continent and the world. Algerian Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, National Community Abroad and African Affairs Ahmed Attaf receives the U.S. President Senior Advisor for Africa, Arab and Middle East Affairs, Mas'ad Boulos, who is on an official visit to Algeria. The two officials hold private talks followed by an expanded meeting between the Algerian and American delegations, reviewing bilateral relations and ways to strengthen strategic dialogue, particularly in economic cooperation, as they also exchange views on key regional issues, including development in Libya, the Sahel and the Sahara region and Western Sahara. The conference of the foreign ministers of Algeria, Tunisia and Egypt of the tripartite concluded in Tunis with the adoption of a joint statement on Libyan crisis. The three countries call for the urgent organization of parliamentary and presidential elections, reaffirm their rejection of all forms of foreign interference, and demand the withdrawal of foreign mercenaries and armed groups to preserve Libya's sovereignty and unity and stability. The ministers stressed the importance of Libyan-led political process under UN auspices and the only path to a lasting settlement. Let's hear what Minister Attaf said about this.
Our three countries are deeply concerned about the Libyan crisis and its stocks. They are also the best place to understand the reality of this crisis and its different dimensions. Our three countries have a major interest in putting an end to this crisis and in preserving the integrity of Libya, both in terms of territory and of the people and institutions. In this context, I express my gratitude to the President Kais Saied for his commitment and for the initiative of Tunisia, which allowed this conference to be possible.
General of Army Abdurrahman Tiani, President of the Republic of Niger, receives Algerian Minister of State and Minister of Hydrocarbons and Mines Mohamed Arqab in Niamey. The meeting focuses on strengthening bilateral cooperation in the fields of energy, mining and major economic projects, particularly cross-border partnerships and investment opportunities like the Trans-Saharan gas pipelines, as discussions also addresses ways to deepen strategic coordination between Algeria and Niger in support of sustainable development and regional stability. We listen to Minister Mohamed Arqab.
The instructions of the President of the Algerian Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, I came here to discuss shared issues in the hydrocarbon sectors, and with His Excellency we reviewed the important projects. The Kafra project, which we discussed, Truth and Action Plan that we implemented earlier, that we updated, which we had already carried out in Algiers 2024. Today, we strengthen it with concrete actions, with very well-developed shuttles to begin drilling at the Kafra block with a company that we will mobilize from Algiers, the drilling company Infor, which we will be in Niger to begin the work as well regarding the project. We developed a plan covering these aspects. The other points discussed training, support, coaching. All of that, we also implemented a plan in such a way as to support our brothers in Niger to take charge of all these aspects and also take responsibility for operating the Kafra block in Niger with us in partnership. So for all of this, you have put in place a very solid, very sound and achievable plan. And regarding to the TSGP project, we have a timetable set for the month of March. We will meet again to review the study that we are currently conducting together and move on to the next stage.
The Sahrawi Collective of Human Rights Defenders, Kodisa, condemns the reception of a delegation from the French city of Nice in the occupied Dakhla under what is described as a friendship pact. The organization says the move aims to legitimize Morocco's occupation of Western Sahara and constitutes a violation of international law. Kodisa also calls on French authorities to respect the Sahrawis' people's right to self-determination and to refrain from actions that undermine the UN peace process. The chairperson of the African Union Commission, Mahmoud Ali Youssef, calls for granting Africa a permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council. Speaking at a high-level open debate, he stresses the need to reform the international governance system, reaffirms respect for international law, and strengthen multilateral in order to achieve peace, security, and justice on the African continent and worldwide. The South Sudanese army issues a 48-hour evacuation deadline for civilians and humanitarian staff, including UN personnel, from areas under opposition control in Jonglei State ahead of a major military operation. In a video statement, Army spokesperson Major General Lolroy Kwang stresses that the NGO and all NGOs and UN staff must leave the countries of Nirol, Euro, and Akobo immediately to ensure their safety. He warns that armed civilians found near opposition camps will be considered legitimate military targets and urges residents to surrender weapons and move with their families and livestock to government control areas as the army prepares to launch an operation dubbed Perpetual Peace against the Sudan People Liberation Movement opposition forces. The Sudanese armed forces announced their successful entry to the city of Diling in southern Sudan as the army says the operation ends a 2-year siege opposed by the rapid support forces and restores access to the strategic city, allowing delivery of humanitarian aid and the return of basic services. Military sources describe the advance as a major step in securing region and protecting civilians. Shifting to Paris as demonstrators and Hassan Diarra's family condemns the police brutality and demands answer as the officers involved remain on duty. The ongoing investigation ignites a broader national debate on police accountability and the treatment of migrants in France. More details with Widad Allawa.
Chanting, "We are not against the police, but against police who kill." Thousands of people demonstrate in Paris in support of the family of Hassan Diarra, a Mauritanian migrant died while in police custody on the night of January 14. A week after an initial gathering, thousands again assembled, grief visible on their faces, outside the migrant workers' shelter in the northeast of the French capital, where the 30-year-old victim had been living, and at the same location where he was violently arrested. Behind a banner calling for justice for Hassan Diarra and praying for mercy, several members of his family wore black t-shirts bearing the words "Justice and Truth." A relative of Hassan Diarra, Dianko Sissoko, expresses her deep pain, saying, "We are here because it is our duty. We are his family, but I do not believe that justice will never be done, because before Hassan's death, there were other deaths, and justice was not served." The police version of events remains under investigation. A video filmed by a neighbor shows 2 police officers, one of them on his knees, striking Hassan Diarra twice while he was laying on the ground and shouting, "You are sophisticating me," according to an audio analysis conducted by a victim's family. Hassan Diarra died after being taken to a police station. In spite of that, the 2 police officers who arrested Hassan Diarra are still carrying out their duties, questioning why the Interior Minister has not suspended them from service. As investigations continue and forensic examinations are expanded, the death of Hassan Diarra has reignited a broader national debate over police accountability and the treatment of migrants in France.
Thousands of demonstrators in Paris following the death of the Mauritanian citizen Hassan Diarra while in police custody. Protesters gathered in the 20th district to denounce the racism and police abuses as human rights activists warn of growing security practices of discriminatory and racist nature. Demonstrators call for an independent investigation and justice for the victim. We listen to Lamine Sakou, a witness talking to Yunus Jama.
What happened is completely chaos. We must nevertheless report it, and justice must be done. We have videos showing Hassan Diarra being knocked to the ground by 2 police officers with punches. You can clearly see him on the ground. This is not the first time we have had a case like this in 2025. In the month of July, the police also came in front of this Mulberry hostel where Hassan was killed, grabbing a Malian national and sending him back to the country, supposedly because he has no papers. So this is unacceptable. It must be reported. It's a disgrace when I hear the minister say that the police officers will not be suspended. We'll have to see whether it really was the police officers who committed this act, and that we can see there is a video that shows it. And also the autopsy provided by the lawyer shows that indeed Hassan received fatal blows. As for the minister's response, frankly, I'm not at all satisfied with it.
The Bashar Tindouf Garaj Bilat railway line officially enters into operation. Authorities prepare for the departure of the first train carrying iron ore from the Garaj Bilat mine in Tindouf to the port of Oran, marking a major milestone in development of this national flagship mining and transport project in Algeria. Officials say the line will boost industrial production, create jobs, and strengthen Algeria's export capacity in the mining sector. Yasmin Ben Ashur shares more.
Algeria is starting a new chapter in its mining sector with the launch of the Garaj Bilat iron ore project in Tindouf. This major project aims to reduce dependence on oil and gas by developing mining and local industry. Instead of exporting raw materials, Algeria plans to process iron locally, creating more value and jobs. Ahmed Bakhouch, advisor at Sonaram, says the new railway line used to transport the first iron ore shipment is a historical step. The project includes several stages, from mining and initial treatment on site to further processing into iron projects for local use and export through the port of Oran. By 2040, Algeria plans to produce 50 million tons of iron ore each year, with half transformed inside the country. This project is also set to create about 5,000 direct jobs and 20,000 indirect jobs. It will also boost investment in transport, agriculture, trade, and infrastructure. The new Western Mining Railway will reduce isolation in South Algeria. It will offer young people more chances for training, jobs, and experience.
The Algerian Agency for Cultural Outreach opens applications for participation in the Very Short Film Lab. The initiative aims to train young filmmakers, support the production of very short films, and encourage innovation in audiovisual storytelling. Organizers says the program seeks to discover new talents and promote creative expression among emerging artists across the country. In sports news, in Kigali, Rwanda, the 27th African Men's Handball Championship continues with intense competition. The Algerian national team moves closer to the semi-finals after defeating Angola 27-22, temporarily ranking second in the main group stage. Algeria now hopes for an Egyptian victory over Nigeria this evening to confirm qualifications and secure a place at the next year's World Championship in Germany. In Group 2, however, Tunisia faces Cape Verde in a decisive top-to-the-table clash, while Guinea meets Morocco in the race for a place in the semi-finals. And that is all we harvested today. It was directed by Muad, Bab Ahmed, and Yasmin Bekay. Observation with the Tawas, control board with Mustafa, and the streaming with Islam. And you, dear listeners, don't move too far. Keep enjoying our programs of the day with your favorite radio channel, Ifriqiya FM, the voice of Africa.
Ifriqiya FM 105.6 FM, 98.4 FM, and in shortwaves.